Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Film Pundits. We are reviewing Guardians.
Yeah.
Marvel's 10th
Yeah.
film since Iron Man.
We all just saw it. There's 5 of us right now. Let's go through and introduce everybody to the audience.
Go say
Adam.
hi.
Adam.
Hi, I'm Hector.
Hi, I'm Augustine.
We have some guests with us today.
Yes, I'm Cynthia.
And I'm Eric.
We've seen Eric before, and
Yeah.
this is Cynthia's first Film Pundits review,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
it
you,
is.
guys. We just saw the
Yes.
movie. We just got out of the movie.
Mhm.
It's like 1:30 in the morning. We just saw it Thursday evening. And let's get into it.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to give our initial thoughts, just general thoughts of what we thought about the movie, non-spoiler. And then once we do that, we're going to jump into spoiler territory.
Yeah, so you guys can make up your mind.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know. Go ahead, kick us off, Adam.
Okay, so general thoughts. I really liked the movie. I thought it was good. There were some things about the movie that I think could have used a little bit of improvement, mostly dealing with the villains and some of their character development. But I thought overall visual effects were really good. The story itself was pretty cohesive for the most part. And yeah, I enjoyed it.
Super good. I'll go next real quick. I had a blast with it. I thought it was super funny, which is important to me. I thought that the story was great. The characters were great. There were things that I would say were rough around the edges, but I think that's part of the movie's charm. It kind of fits with the characters and the story. You know what I mean? Like there are things that weren't all the way polished. That could have probably been better, but that's part of the. Adam.
Part of the audio.
Oh, okay. So that's my review. I super highly recommend it. One of my favorites of the Marvel Studios movies. It still doesn't top like the Avengers for me. It still doesn't top Captain America: Winter Soldier, which came out earlier this year and blew me away. But God, man, for a movie with like unknown characters,
A talking tree and a talking
like it was so good, so much fun.
I agree.
Augie, you want to take it?
Yeah. My initial impression of this movie was that it was probably my favorite amongst the Marvel movies at this point because all these people have so much character to them. There were some issues that I had with. I felt some moments were a little bit contrived. Some of the characters might have been a little. They might have just jumped the gun a little bit in some points here and there, but overall. For what this movie was, like you were saying, Hector, with brand new characters and everything.
People are already saying this, and I super agree that in all of the Marvel Studios movies so far, some of the best characters are Drax, Rocket Raccoon, Groot. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, those characters
I'm wearing my Groot pin right here.
We're all wearing
got
pins. We're going to pins.
Because we got some, we got there to the screening, Groot was my favorite character. He said so little, but he almost
said
had
a lot.
me. Yeah, but he said a lot.
He said a lot.
He did say a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Cynthia?
I think the movie was really well made. The characters were developed really well. There was a really great strategy in telling the background of each character throughout the movie in ways that it didn't feel like it was pushed too early or, like you said, contrived.
Yeah.
There were some things I think, part of the movie felt a little bit rushed. I won't say which part, but overall, great movie, great comedy. A little bit of everything, some emotional parts, and great action, great fighting scenes. So it was all very, very well done, I think, and props for it being a partly female-written story.
There we go. All right, now we're getting to the part I can't wait for.
The nitty-gritty.
Eric.
Nobody ever knows what I'm going to say.
What did you think?
I thought it was okay. I wasn't quite as blown away by it as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I definitely thought a good amount of the stuff that happened felt really half done, kind of, which was a little annoying. Some of the jokes that I thought that seemed like they could have been really funny barely got any laughs.
Yeah,
and I felt like they fell flat. I mean, I liked most of the characters. I felt like some of them were just actually all the main characters were good. Yeah. Some of the side characters felt a little underdone and a little wasted, kind of. But I mean, overall the movie was pretty good. It was enjoyable. I enjoyed watching it. There was just some parts that It
have
just
to
left me thinking, like, why? Why did they?
I have to agree and kind of expand on that. That's one thing I noticed is that me and Adam went to the cast and crew screening last night, and
in addition to watching it just
in
now
addition
again
to just
tonight.
watching it,
This is
so
you guys'
we've seen
second
it
time.
twice already.
Cool.
And the jokes were landing hard at the cast and crew screening. People were laughing at every joke, but then here, it was all the parts that I thought people were going to laugh at. They felt flat.
Yeah.
Can I say something? Was there ever a time where people were laughing at something else and they didn't hear a joke that should have
Yes.
Oh
landed?
yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
That
Okay,
happened
cool.
a bit.
That's totally to be expected for
Yeah.
like an opening night screening. That's another reason I want to go see the movie again is because of everyone's reactions. I would even miss stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm sure there were funny follow-up lines or whatever.
I had
So-
the loudest laugher I've ever met. And I didn't even meet the guy, but he was like the loudest laughing person I've ever
Yeah.
experienced
He was
in
right.
my
He was
life.
right
He was
behind
like,
us.
ah.
He was like right next to me the whole time. It was a little ridiculous, but
All right,
Ridiculous.
so I think that pretty much wraps it up for non-spoilers. So
Yeah.
let's just go into spoiler territory. If you guys want to just skip to the end, we'll put an annotation at the top of the
We'll
video.
click on that thingy
Yeah,
right there.
post-
Click on that poster.
If you haven't seen
That
it, make
area
up your
right
mind.
there.
Click on the poster.
or Augie's face.
Or my-
There you go. Click right there. Yeah, you want to click on that.
Click on this
It's
thing.
gonna take you
right
there.
Please make up your mind and either go see the movie or not, and then
Yeah.
if you haven't seen it, then come back and watch the rest of our review so that we can talk about it. We can
Go
discuss
go
it.
see the movie. Go see the movie.
Okay.
So Hector,
Yeah.
give us a brief run through of kind of the concept of the story. What happens in the movie?
This is great.
Where
This
do you
is,
start? I saw you on the edge of your seat a few times.
dude. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, just
Yeah.
because I like to really lean in.
Okay.
Well,
then
and then
let's-
because the
let's-
dude that was sitting next to me was hogging up the armrest, so I wanted to get
That
And he was
this-
kind of smelly.
This is a rough description of the plot. It centers around 5 characters that are sort of obscure Marvel Comics characters that deal in space. They're cosmic characters. The leader of them is Peter Quill, who is from Earth. And then at the end of the movie, we find out he's only half Earthling. His dad is an alien, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
rad, which is awesome.
Man,
I'm
you
so
just
glad.
jumped straight
I'm
to the
so
end there.
well. Hey, I'm so glad that they went into that to potentially, set up for future stuff and expand. So excited. But he's the main central focus, and these other characters that he comes in contact with are all criminals and thugs and psychopaths and assassins and just like the dregs of the space world. And
The losers.
the losers because they've lost stuff, but they're also they're just like messed up individuals and interesting. So something happens where they come across this artifact, and it's a MacGuffin, just like every other Marvel movie. There's a thing, and the bad guy, if he gets his hands on it, it's very dangerous. So they decide to be good and then try to stop the bad guy. That's essentially the plot. And it was super fun. And there was a bunch of stuff that was like, I guess, predictable. Like, okay, cool, they're gonna do this now. They're gonna do, and there was a bunch of stuff that was not predictable. It was so funny. It was so funny. Like, I'm trying. Like, oh my gosh, one of my favorite moments we saw during the 17-minute preview, where it's like, you have Rocket Raccoon going over the plan for how to escape the prison, and it's that great still shot as he's talking about the plan, and then in the background, Groot just goes and like grabs one of the things off the wall, and like immediately he's like, okay, now we have to go right now.
Yeah.
And you thought when he was going over the plan that it was going to do the typical montage thing of a prison escape movie scene where it's like, okay, he's going to go over the plan. Maybe they're going to cut to and show stuff. I mean, they did the same thing in like Thor: The Dark World when they were talking about the plan,
They
about how
montaged
to,
through
right?
the plan.
They montage through the plan, and you're like, okay, we're gonna wait a minute, what's happening right now? And so there was a bunch of cool stuff like that throughout. But that's the plot, and then the audience has a great time.
Yep.
We all laugh.
Yeah.
So some of the things that I really liked about the movie is it felt very much kind of like Star Wars meets.
Yes.
I don't know. It had a very like space opera
Totally.
feel to it.
Yes,
Definitely the
I
Star
agree.
Wars tone. And visually, and everything was really. You were totally sucked in by all the visuals.
It was
It was-
a beautiful movie.
It was like Star Wars, but comic booky, and,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
mean comic booky like
It's
something
Marvel
like.
Studios made Star Wars.
Yeah.
Sure, but even more like comic booky, like Dick Tracy or like
Mm-hmm.
Sin City or something where it's like the colors were super vibrant and weird and freaky. Like
Yeah.
like normally when they do when they have a comic book character, it's like, okay, this guy's skin is blue. They would try to find a tone of skin that kind of looked realistic. They didn't do
Like
that.
a
for
fleshy
this.
blue.
They did not do that for this. It was just a dude was just blue. A
And
woman was
Gamora,
just
too, was
bright
just
pink.
green.
Gamora was just green. Right. It's like even for like the Avengers movie, they would tinker around with like the shade of Hulk to be like,
Yeah.
okay, what shade of green like looks human and organic and realistic? They're like, no, there's just crazy wackadoo colors all throughout this
And
movie.
I think the colors really are reminiscent of that period. I mean, brings out a lot of the 80s. With
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And in the 80s, you had really bright pops of color.
Yeah.
And just pop culture in general.
Yeah.
And
It was
movies and
just
stuff.
movies,
So it
sci-fi.
Just like that
really did-
poster, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like the
exactly.
poster.
Just
So it
look
really
at the poster
did
here. It's
a
awesome.
great job of wrapping that sense of an era.
It did.
Yeah.
That
It did.
Peter
Yeah.
Quill brings
Oh my
into the
God!
story.
As soon as the movie opened with like a really cool emotional scene, I was so happy they did it.
Oh man.
It varies a little bit from the comic book storyline, which is fine. It's a backstory of Peter Quill. But then as soon as we catch up with Peter and he's like up in space and he's doing a really cool badass thing, and then he starts listening to music as he like breaks into
Yeah.
this place and starts grooving to this music, and like little alien lizards are running around and he grabs one and he's singing into it like a microphone. I was like, I'm gonna have a good time with this
Oh,
movie.
yeah,
like
totally.
that set the
It
tone.
makes it so much more personal too, because you understand. I think music is a very personal thing to show on film. That
Yes.
you're connecting to it as
Yes.
as an individual. That you're connecting
Yeah.
to the sentiment of the songs, and so to bring that onto the screen
Yeah.
really makes.
And it was so
it connects
smart.
with-
It was
with
so
the
smart for them to do it in this space movie.
Yeah.
To have 70s and 80s American music immediately attached to this character, so that everybody could get on board with this character.
Yeah.
Like, okay, even
'Cause
though
who
we're in
doesn't
space,
love that music?
who does exactly? Even though we're in space, it's like cool. We get this guy. He's one of us.
Jackson
Yeah,
5 are
yeah.
in space.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's so good,
They are in space.
so good. Cool. Yeah, let's shoot. I want. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I have to ask Cynthia since she's here. What do you think that having a female writer co-write the story, do you feel like it gave it more heart, or do you think it really wouldn't have made a difference whether or not there would have been a female co-writer for the story?
I don't think it makes a difference.
Men have hearts too, Adam.
Parts too.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
No, honestly, I don't think it
And
makes a difference whether it's. Let me rephrase that. It doesn't make whether the story has heart or not. It doesn't make a difference if it was a woman who wrote it or a man. I think it's really groundbreaking to have a female in the production. It's so high up.
Yeah, because it's the first female who's written a Marvel movie.
Right.
Mhm.
But I don't think that changes the overall results of the movie, because then that
Agree.
would say that females only have certain
Right.
qualities that bring that
That's
they bring
limiting.
to the table.
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
limiting.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it makes a difference in that sense.
Mhm.
However, there maybe I don't know what the writing process was like, but I would hope that having more female writers brings forth more female characters in
And
other
female
films.
perspectives.
And-
And female
Mhm.
And
perspectives.
female perspectives.
For sure.
right.
So the screenwriter that we're talking about is Nicole Perlman.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I guess what we know is the way this was set up was that she came on as part of like a writing program for Marvel, and there was all these projects that were up for grabs years ago, like 2, 3, no, probably more than that, a couple years ago, like maybe like 2010 or something, when they were doing like Iron Man 2. And she came on board, and there's all these projects, and because she was a fan of science fiction, one of the properties that she could have worked on was Guardians of the Galaxy, so she's like, cool, I'll take a crack at this. And then she wrote the script. The other thing that we know is that when James Gunn, who directed the film, came on board, he said that, like, sure, there was a script like already written when he came on board, but he said, quote, it didn't work for me, so he basically like rewrote it. So it would be really interesting to know what remained from the first draft
Right.
and what exactly James
Right.
Gunn did to it. I believe that James Gunn infused a lot of his comedy, a lot of his sense of humor, because he did movies like Super and Slither, and he has that real sort of dark sense of humor and kind of edgy and really funny. So I believe he totally infused that in there. I don't know how much of the heart and how much of the other elements were in there. Because again, talking about all the other characters' backstories, like they each had these little moments of like
Yeah.
heartbreaking, like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
So it'd be really cool to see, who did what. But I think that the end product was still really, really
Yeah.
good for having these sort of two different-minded writers work on it
Yeah,
at
and,
one point.
And just to quickly add, I think it would be unfair to attribute the heart and emotional
Sure.
parts of the movie to the female
Yeah.
and the action comedy to the man.
Of course.
Right.
We have
don't
no
know,
idea.
We have
Yeah,
no
we don't
know
idea.
who
did what.
She
Yeah.
very well
Exactly.
could have written all the best jokes.
Yeah.
And then he came in and he's like, well, I want to do the backstory for Peter. And
It's
I
like,
wanna,
I kind of want Rocket to cry right now.
Yeah. Oh, that part. That was great.
Dude, when I think Rocket's sort of background reveal was kind of the best because he was drunk
Yeah.
and he was like,
Yeah,
how would you
dude.
feel if you got ripped apart? And I was like, oh my God.
Well, especially the way
Yeah.
they did it, it's like we all know we've had our moments.
Yeah.
You're the most honest
And
for the
vulnerable.
most part, and
Yeah,
vulnerable when
yeah.
when you've been drinking.
when you
Yeah.
drink,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have very personal moments with other
Yeah.
people.
I'm glad they did that.
And it was so great.
Are you gonna cry?
because-
Are you gonna cry right now?
It was great because they did it so efficiently.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was just a 1-minute segment at
Mhm.
most
Yeah.
where he just blurts it out,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and
He didn't-
We learned about him.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all
and
you
it,
need
and
to
it
know.
worked with like a character moment because it was him also saying like, "Screw this, I quit," sort of thing. You know, like in the beginning, he sort of briefly describes what Groot is and how he's just like, "Oh, he's just a member of his race." You know, they
Yeah.
have like limited vocabularistics or whatever it was
Yeah.
that Rocket said. We learned about Drax's history just by him telling everyone because he's so literal. Like, this is what happened. This is what happened to my family. We learned about Gamora throughout like her relationship with Ronan and Nebula, and then we kind of learned her backstory a little bit. The only one that we literally see a flashback of is Peter, is Star-Lord, and everyone else we and the other moment that I loved is after they get thrown in prison and they get washed with that orange Kool-Aid or whatever it was, like that high C, like and they get, like
The
squirted
high C
down.
jizz.
Yeah, all that stuff. Then we see Rocket come in, and he's got like little bolts in his back, and his
Yeah.
little like shaved back. And Peter looks at him, and he kind of, and there's a little moment of like sympathy of like, this is
Yeah.
a gnarly little thing that was
Yeah.
that was prodded and poked, and nothing was said. It was just a little thing of like, this little character's messed up.
He's been through
you know,
some-
He's
some
been through
stuff.
some shit. He's been through some stuff. Let's talk about. I want to talk about real quick before getting into what Eric. We can maybe unwrap some of the stuff that you didn't like.
Yeah,
We can
let's talk about that,
On top
dude.
of the stuff that you liked, we can talk about that too.
Because we can
Um,
gush forever. About
I just
this
yeah,
movie.
we've already kind of talked about the plot a little bit. We talked about the humor. I want to talk about the cast and how everyone felt like who was excellent, who was maybe not utilized all the way. Some of the side guys. But I thought that the cast in general was super, super good. I thought that on top of being pretty diverse in terms of gender, I feel like there was good female actresses playing those roles. It was also pretty diverse for race and ethnicity. You had God, what's the actor's name? How do you pronounce it? Like Djimon. Yeah, Djimon Hounsou played Korath the Pursuer, and it's like. But he still had like black skin, you know what I mean? And then you had other characters, other ethnicities with paint and everything on. Of course, Zoe Saldana had the green paint on because she was playing Gamora, and so yeah. But I thought that even that was pretty well done and pretty diverse. So let's talk about the cast a little bit. Adam, what do you think?
I liked all the cast. If there was any characters that kind of stood out to me, surprisingly, I would have to say it was Drax.
Oh yeah.
I really like Dave Bautista. He was very subtle.
Yeah.
For someone who's not like a classically trained actor.
He's a
Yeah.
wrestler.
I was really surprised.
Yeah.
How much I really like that character. Obviously, I mean Groot and Rocket.
They're great.
You have to kind of love those.
They're
two
great.
characters. They're like the Han and Chewie of the movie.
They are Han and Chewie.
That's great.
Lee Pace was also good.
Mm-hmm.
Karen Gillan, I like her. I wish that her role was a little bit more expanded.
Sure.
I feel like we didn't really get to know Nebula too much.
I think she's gonna come back for the sequel.
Oh, yeah,
because
she's
she got
definitely gonna come
because she
back.
got away at the
doesn't
end.
die, guys.
Exactly. The guy who didn't get away at the end was Ronan the Accuser, which
Yeah.
I'm okay with. The thing about Lee Pace, I think he's a great actor, but I felt like out of all the characters, Ronan was the one that had too much makeup. He literally
Yeah.
had black goo on his face, and
Yeah.
it was like it was hard to read.
It looked
him
like it was
sometimes.
dripping out of his mouth.
Yeah,
at
and
one
it was
point.
like, and like he plays a Kree, which are just supposed to be blue dudes, you know what I mean? Or just like alien humanoids. And it's like at the beginning when you first see Ronan and he's getting his like armor and stuff put on him, they're literally pouring that black goo on him. So it was like an added thing. Like I felt like if he didn't have that stuff on him and he was just sort of like maybe an actor with just a different color face, and it was Lee Pace, we could have maybe connected with him a bit more. I don't know. I felt like that one was.
I could have done without that scene too.
Yeah. Well.
I
Yeah.
didn't-
Yeah.
Yeah, like that scene where he's basically explaining his own backstory.
Yeah.
I didn't really connect with that character. I would have liked to connect with that character more. I mean, even when even though he's a villain, you still want to at least understand him. But in the movie, he was not really. All the other characters, like the Guardians, are very well developed for the most part.
And you understand their motivations.
Yeah, but the villains are not so much developed, and I would have
No.
liked to have seen
It's just
more
like-
of like
yeah.
Nebula and Gamora, their relationship, and and all that kind of stuff. But I think overall, all the acting was really good.
Sure.
I thought Rocket was really
Yeah.
funny.
Absolutely. Lee Pace was great, but I still feel like, they could have taken more
It was a
crap
little
off
too
of him.
much,
And yeah, Augie, what'd you think?
Um,
Cast.
The cast was great. See, I kind of have an opposite opinion of Adam with Bautista.
Ooh.
I thought I mean, I have to remind myself that he is not a professional
Sure.
actor. So some of his line deliveries were just not all the way there
But
all
you've
the
seen
time.
it twice. Yeah.
So
I think you're right. I think we do have to cut him a little slack.
yeah, I cut him some slack.
Sure.
But if since we're pointing this out, that would probably be like
The weak
my
link for you.
one weekly. Even though I still love Drax.
Yeah.
But
Drax
he had
is
those
fantastic.
Really amazing lines.
Yeah,
really
he
good
had-
lines.
yeah.
Really good lines.
So,
His delivery was good.
So funny.
I think he had the most laughs out of everybody.
I think he was like the biggest surprise.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't. Nobody expected that from Drax. What about you, Cynthia?
what was that was the first.
What do you think about
What do you
the
think
cast?
about the cast?
What you liked, what you didn't like?
I did like it. I thought everyone did a great job in delivering. Bradley Cooper surprised me. I did not even. I forgot there was a real human behind Rocket Raccoon. I really
Yes.
felt it was
Yes, that's great.
this raccoon that was
It
talking
was a
to us.
raccoon,
So,
Eric.
Oh, good.
it was a
Makes me
raccoon.
happy.
So I think that was very convincing for me. I
Yeah.
really like that Drax, Bautista.
Yeah,
Dave
Yeah,
Bautista.
Dave Bautista. He did a really great job. Like you said, it's important to point out that he's not a trained actor.
Yeah.
But even despite that,
Yeah.
he had some lines that they were just on
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And
Just on point.
and I would also like to point out for some of the emotional stuff too. A couple of the lines he brought it.
Oh yeah,
He brought it.
definitely.
For a dude covered in makeup, wearing contacts, like he brought it a couple of times.
Mhm.
The other thing I love about Groot and Rocket Raccoon is that it wasn't just them hiring the two actors, Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel, to go into a recording booth and just read the lines.
Mhm.
Like they acted their asses off,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that combined with the beautiful animation of both of those
Mhm.
characters really helped sell it.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just a paycheck for those guys. It
Right.
was like they acted their asses off.
Here's a little backstory on Vin Diesel, the way he played Groot. He got a script from James Gunn, and on one side of the page, it would say, I am Groot, however many times you'd have to say it.
Mm-hmm.
On the right side of the page, it would have a complete explanation of
Aw.
what Groot was saying.
The
So
translation.
Vin Diesel
Oh.
knew how to deliver the lines.
How to
and
emote it.
what the meaning
Brilliant.
That's
was.
great.
Right.
That's great. Because there were a couple times where it got to the point where he would say, "I am Groot," and the audience knew what he was saying because he was
Yeah.
answering a question or he was engaged in a discussion.
Yeah.
And, he would say something like, like, "I am Groot," and you would know, like, we have to go help them. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
that, which was great.
What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that all the main characters were good. I felt like in the first couple trailers, I felt like Bradley Cooper just sounded exactly like Bradley Cooper, but as a raccoon. And I
Right.
liked that it sounded like it was different in the actual movie. Like it was a voice, it was a character. It was no
Right.
longer just Bradley Cooper in raccoon form. So I
He had-
liked that.
He had kind of like a
Because-
like a little New York accent
Yeah,
or like
kind
a
of.
little
When we first
Jersey
heard him
something.
talking, I was
Like a-
almost
like
like,
a
is
tough
this
guy?
Rocket or not?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it doesn't sound like Bradley Cooper, and I thought I was expecting to hear that. So I was glad that his voice seemed to change for the movie.
Cool.
Yeah.
The only person I thought was kind of a little, I don't know about wasted, it was John C. Reilly.
Definitely.
And I thought he was gonna be awesome because of that trailer. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, his lines are funny. They've got that whole they call themselves the Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought that whole scene was gonna play really well.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it played nearly as well as it did in the trailer,
Right.
which was a little disappointing.
Right.
They had so much more to play with in the actual
Totally.
movie, and it fell way more flat than it was in the trailer, which I was a little disappointed by.
Him and Glenn Close
Yeah.
as the main actors that were representing the Nova Corps were totally like barely in the movie.
Yeah.
And I felt like when you had that big scene at the end where a lot of the Nova Corps like died, my comic book brain started thinking, I was like, you know what? They're probably going to bring those guys back for a sequel, and they're probably going to do a separate thing where like they have to rebuild the Nova Corps, and that's going to introduce us to more famous Nova Corps comic book characters like Nova,
Like
who's a
actual
guy
Nova.
from Earth,
Mhm.
right? Either Richard Rider or Sam Alexander's the new one that they have. But like I feel like they're going to do that. Like they're hopefully going to bring him back and have a bit of an expanded role.
Yeah.
Honestly, they could make a Nova movie at this point.
Yeah,
about how
because
an
of that.
Earth man gets recruited and goes and becomes a part of the Nova Corps, who's basically Marvel's version of Green Lantern.
That's exactly what I was thinking when all the
When-
Nova Corps
when
went
they all
down. I
started
was
dying, we're like, oh, Richard Rider's going to show up.
Yeah, I was like,
we
oh, Nova's gonna
we need
come
recruitments.
back.
We need recruitments from Earth. Totally. That's exactly what
Yeah.
But
happened.
I agree, John C. Reilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
still
was
liked
hoping for
him.
more.
I liked
From
him.
the trailer, you get the sense that he's going to be kind of a real dick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like but like throughout the movie.
Throughout
Yeah.
the movie.
And he,
And then
yeah.
he shows up and he's just like soft, like I'm a dad. I'm
Yeah,
And he waters his plants.
Well, I mean, he says that he doesn't believe anybody's 100% a dick.
That's
Right.
true.
Yeah,
That's
he
true.
has-
You know?
Yeah.
But even the delivery of that specific line,
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
I was like, this really in this situation, you're gonna go and you're gonna say
Yeah.
something like that. It
Yeah.
felt-
Let's just get to the
Yeah,
bathroom.
it's
some of the
like-
jokes there, I was like, it could have done without that there.
Yeah, because
And
they
it-
were about to get demolished by
But I
Ronan.
wonder if
No
they
time
were
for
doing
jokes.
that because from just the I guess the cinematic perspective, those scenes with John C. Reilly and Glenn Close, it's very bright, it's very light. So I don't
Totally.
know if they were trying to do a very peaceful, calm environment.
Yeah.
In contrast to the Guardians that are gnarly
Right.
and like
Mhm.
yeah.
And
So
out
I
in
don't
dark
know if
space.
that was
Yep.
in purpose and it just
probably.
didn't translate properly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But either way, I'm totally with Eric. Where like honestly, any other actor could have played John C. Reilly's
Mhm.
character, and like it's like if you hire John C. Reilly, I want him to be like crazy, you know, like I want him to go full on. Like that's what you use him for.
Like full on
You-
Tim and
like,
Eric show.
You full
Oh,
on
man.
Steve Brule, like hey, you dingus, like, and he wasn't really that character. He was just very like reserved and like.
Yeah.
So you know, there you go.
Mhm.
Cool, Eric. Was there anything else that you felt like the movie didn't
Let's-
hit all the way?
Just lay, let's
Oh,
just
unpack
lay
it
it
I
out
can
a little bit.
start
Lay
that.
it out, buddy.
Yeah.
Well,
Lay
we
it out.
already-
Let's talk about things that we did not.
Yeah.
That didn't
Yeah.
work for us.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were already kind of talking about that ending. I'll just start there because I remember it. It's the last thing that happened. But so they talk about, oh, we've got the whole city evacuated. It's fine, and it's like, okay, so everybody's gone. Cool. I don't know how they all got off this island in like 2 minutes, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
They're
That's
gone.
true.
And then the giant ship crashes down, and then all of a sudden, all these people come, and you're like,
Yeah.
where'd they come from? Did they get back on the island as soon as they left it? Like
Either
how, are
either
they
they
transporting?
either they impossibly came back
Yeah.
or not everybody got out and a bunch of people died when that ship landed.
Exactly.
Like
Oh yeah.
Which
A
made
bunch
me-
of people died.
I don't know. Anytime there's huge destruction and it's like a bunch of people are probably dying, I don't know. It bugs me when movies do that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
let's talk about the real ending though.
yeah.
I'm talking about Howard the Duck. Let's talk about
Oh,
it.
God.
Let's get into it. No,
Well, this
what?
wasn't something I didn't like. I did enjoy that.
I
though.
loved
Oh,
it.
I thought
It
it
was
I thought it was
awesome.
hilarious.
It was
Well,
just.
The
actually,
direction of Howard the Duck has begun.
Yeah.
That's
Going
great.
back to your point.
Oh, Cynthia, enough.
We want to talk about it.
Go ahead. I know. Go ahead. Go back to yeah.
When Rocket Raccoon crashes his ship onto
Ronan.
Ronan and
Yeah.
Drax,
Mm-hmm.
and then magically the Guardians still survive.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I'm
Of
just
course.
like, what is this?
It's
And
just-
they did such a good job of making me believe so much of the story, and then at the end, it felt to me that it began to fall apart.
Yeah.
And that it was hurried, and just
Yeah.
some scenes
Totally.
were just not thought out
Yeah.
well.
Even when they went to attack Ronan, and it's like, okay, Gamora has to go down there, disable this thing so that we
Yeah.
can get in this door, and then she just blows one hole in the floor and jumps up through it. It's like,
Yeah,
then why didn't they
exactly.
all go down there?
Why didn't
That
they
was
all do
obviously
that?
the easier way to go.
Yeah.
All she had to fight was Nebula to
Yeah,
get up there. She had to fight one
exactly.
person. They had to go through
Yeah.
like 100 agents to get to that one room. It's like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, how did she know she could get up through there? And that felt half thought out to me. And
Yeah, it's like I said before, very sort of contrived.
Yeah.
You know, like they were just like, well, she can just blast a hole in the floor.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem.
And then it's just like when they went to the collector's place also, and the entire building blows up, and yet
Yeah.
the collector's fine. He was right by the
Yeah.
explosion.
He wasn't
And the dog.
protected by
yeah, the dog is. I mean, and then Gamora and Star-Lord are right there, just down a ledge, and they're
Yeah,
fine.
and
It's
they're
like,
fine.
Hey, don't talk about that dog, man.
Yeah.
That's Cosmo. That's a beloved
That's
comic
a-
book character.
Okay,
from the
I didn't
Guardians
know
of
who the
Galaxy.
dog was, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
wasn't sure.
You guys want to know who the dog was?
He's
He's got a brilliant backstory. He's
Okay.
a Russian dog that was launched into space from the USSR, from Russia, in the 80s or whatever. And he got lost out into space. And at one point, he becomes super intelligent because an alien being or somebody like finds him and gives him super intelligence, and then he can communicate telepathically.
Oh, nice.
But he speaks in like a little Russian accent because he's a dog.
because he's a
And
Russian dog.
He eventually becomes the head of security of like the home base of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So he runs around and helps them, and like he has like telepathic powers and
That's pretty
stuff.
awesome.
And the character's name is Cosmo.
So we're gonna see Cosmo running the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So there's a lot of Easter eggs in this movie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
This was
Stan
like
Lee
the Easter
cameo.
egg movie. That was like,
Yeah,
oh, man.
there was, especially the collectors. Like, and what was great was that I saw online that one of the Easter eggs was Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
In the collectors like chamber or whatever. And when we first showed up and we're watching a scene, I was looking for him. I wasn't even looking at Benicio del Toro. I was like, which one of these things has Howard the Duck in it?
Yeah.
I can't see. It's probably that one in the back that's all blurry. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So then the end credit scene came and I was like, awesome.
That's cool.
So happy.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Thanos?
We got to talk about that.
Well, I know
awesome.
Hector was geeking out.
It was crazy, dude.
I looked over
It
and
was
I'm
crazy.
like, somebody is good.
It was Josh Brolin voicing
good,
it,
dude. It was
motion
It was good. Yeah,
capture.
it looked good.
Do you
Yeah.
know that for a fact?
Yes, we do. We know that for a fact.
Yeah.
He acted it and then also did the voice. Full on CG Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
And
He
what's
looked
great,
like a badass.
what's great is that this movie was so good that they didn't have to save that for the end. Like they had that
Yeah.
like in the beginning of the movie to kind of get out of the way. Like, here you go, geeks. This is what you guys have been waiting for. If you're into it, here's Thanos. We're gonna see him in Avengers 3,
Mhm.
and
He's
now
not
let's.
coming until Avengers 3.
He's not coming
Yeah.
until Avengers 3.
Really?
Man.
Exactly.
So that's why we keep getting like a glimpse of him in every movie.
Yeah.
Why?
Got to build him
Why,
up.
though?
Got to build him up.
Mhm.
Because here's what's going to happen, Eric. You're complaining now, but when they finally make a Justice League movie and the villain for the Justice League is going to be Darkseid in the first movie, it'll be like blowing your load in the first movie. People will be like, well, what's going to be like?
Yeah.
What's there to wait for?
I
Like
guess.
they're saving it because he's the ultimate. They said in the movie he's the most powerful being in the universe.
But
Right.
he
You
seems
know?
so weak in this movie. He doesn't
Well,
look like he does
he's in a
anything.
chair.
he
He's just
still
sitting in
needs-
his chair, Eric.
He still needs his Infinity
He's playing
Gauntlet
his
too.
pawns.
I guess.
That's
He
true.
gets-
That's true.
I mean, he's sitting there being talked down to by the
By
accuser
Ronan,
or whatever,
yeah.
and it's like, okay,
Maybe
just,
he's just so like high and mighty
Listen,
that it doesn't matter.
He was
Yeah.
talked down to,
Yes.
but I forget exactly what Thanos said back to him, but it was pretty badass.
Oh, where he
Right.
said, "I will bathe the galaxies in your blood" or something like that.
Pretty
Well, that
classic
was- yeah.
Thanos. It was pretty great.
Yeah.
I will say that the other thing that I didn't wasn't on board with right at the beginning was that they changed up the character Drax the Destroyer a little bit. Drax's backstory is he's supposed to be fixated with Thanos. He's supposed to want to
okay.
kill Thanos. Thanos was the one that killed his family.
Yeah.
And so when they changed that to Ronan, I was like, okay, it's probably because Ronan's going to die by the end of this movie, and they wanted to use a villain, and they're going to use Ronan the Accuser, and if we never see him again, it's not a big loss. And they wanted to have Drax sort of complete his storyline, which is to find revenge and finally seek redemption for the death of his family. Cool.
Okay.
And then by the end of the movie, when that all happened, and Drax was like complete, but he still walked by, and he was like, you know, he's not really the threat. I need to kill Thanos.
Yeah.
Thanos is who I need to kill. I was like, yes, like that's what I want to see. I want to see him face off against Thanos. We'll eventually see it, I'm
we
sure.
will see it. Yeah.
So I was really, really happy with that little
that was pretty good.
moment. All right.
What about you, Adam?
No, I liked. It was cool to finally see him and actually hear him say something.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's just been this
Just
thing in
turned.
the background
This
lurking
is
around.
this is literally what he did.
Yeah. Exactly.
At the end of Avengers, he
Yeah.
literally just turned and smiled, and he smiled in this movie, which was so
Yeah.
creepy and cool.
It was
As he's
kinda
sitting in his
creepy.
chair and he leans back and he's just like,
Smiling.
I did feel like he looked a little too CG.
sure.
That's
Little
why
bit.
that's why I was asking if Josh Brolin really did do the motion capture
Mhm.
because it did look very very CG. So I hope when he shows up in the Avengers 3,
Yeah.
he looks more like the Hulk does, like more real.
They got it wherever the hell his little floating chair is. They got to fix the lighting on that to make that look more real. I know we don't have a frame of reference for what a floating chair in space would look like, but like
I've seen one.
you've
but-
seen one. Okay, if you can
Well-
get some of those pictures to
Yeah.
the Marvel guys
It was
or
a little
something, but it's like Rocket and Groot felt real in so much of their scenes. They
Yeah.
felt like they
Yeah.
interacted with their
Mhm.
environment and they were real. And then you had Thanos, who's like, "I'm a video game boss," and he
Yeah.
looked cool, but he's like, "We're in a video game level right now.
Yeah,
See you
exactly.
later."
It was like the extra level of Mortal Kombat or something.
Yeah,
I'm
'cause
sure
you
that-
can't really wrap your head around where he actually is,
Sure, and
'cause
how
it's just a
big
bunch
he
of
is.
floating rocks.
And how
Mhm.
you know there's no
Very good
no
points.
scale.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that whenever he faces off against Captain America, oh my God, I can't wait.
Ugh,
It's
contain
gonna
yourself.
be-
Contain yourself.
It's gonna look real. You know, when he
Yeah.
finally shows
Yeah.
up and starts fighting these guys,
Yeah.
it's gonna be badass. So
Okay.
cool, man.
Is there any other things that you guys?
What
Oh
else?
yeah, I've got a couple more.
Okay,
go.
go.
I wasn't a huge fan of that opening. The whole opening.
Loved it. Shut your mouth.
Seeing the kid with his mom. It
With the
felt.
mom.
Shut it.
I don't know. The acting
So
all felt
good.
weird. The dialogue, all the conversations felt weird. I was like, I don't understand why. I mean, okay, I get it. You don't want to. You're kind of afraid of your mom because she's
Yeah.
dying. It's a little weird. You're scared about it, and that has to come into play later because you got to grab Gamora's hand, whatever, blah blah blah. But I was like, I don't know. It didn't
Yeah.
feel natural. Like any of that stuff was happening the way it should. And then I don't know.
Okay.
I felt like
Okay.
the kid was overacting a little. That's maybe that's what it was.
Maybe.
That it came off to me. So that kind of bugged me a little. And then Star-Lord's interaction with all the other outlaws that picked him up, especially every time what the blue guy every
Yondu?
time he wanted
Yeah.
to kill him, all of a sudden it's like, never mind, we're best friends again.
Yeah.
It's like it's weird. It felt so back and forth, and I couldn't tell what anybody was really thinking
Right.
until like kind of near the end where Yondu opens the thing, sees the troll doll in there, realizes, okay, whatever, it's fine. And then we were like, Oh, okay. So have they been friends this whole time? And maybe he's just putting on a show for the other guys to make him
That's
think he's
an
mad?
interesting
That's what it
interpretation.
is.
Yeah.
I think the interpretation I got was he opened it up and he smiled and he was like, "I trained this kid well.
Okay.
I'm gonna go hunt his ass down
That's
now."
what you took from it?
Absolutely. I feel like
Okay.
he's gonna show up in the sequel.
I
Yeah.
felt like he was just accepting it as like, all right, he beat me. I'm fine.
I feel
with
like he
that.
was smiling. It would be as if Jabba the Hutt got screwed over by Han Solo, and Jabba the Hutt's like, ho 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 ha, because he just
Yiki
knows he's
wiki.
gonna, he just knows he's
Okay.
gonna go get him again,
Like,
like
what is their official name? They're the
Ravagers.
Ravagers.
Yeah, the
So
space
it
pirates.
seems like to me the characteristic of a Ravager, aside from being, huntsman in a way, it's trickery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Deception.
tricksters,
They're thieves.
deceptions.
Theatricality.
And so it makes sense that he had this relationship with Peter Quill where it's the master teaching
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
the apprentice.
that.
Yeah.
and
That could
this
make
was-
sense.
Yeah, like he taught the kid not to trust people and not to be trusted, and you know what I mean, and a lot of
And this
sleight
is just
of
an
hand.
affirmation that he's a great master.
Could be.
Okay.
I mean, they even pointed it out at the beginning where Quill got the stone and he wasn't going to turn it over to Yondu because he was like, "Oh, you told me, like never trust anybody," or something along those lines. So
But
I do definitely see what you're saying though, Eric.
Yeah.
To me, without any context, I would have been like, "Well, what is he cool with him now?"
Yeah,
like
it's weird.
I
He
don't.
was just inconsistent.
and I agree with the hand,
Mhm.
the touching of the hand with the mom.
That
in the
was
very
weird.
beginning, and then Gamora and Peter Quill having to touch hands again. That to me just felt really weird. I thought it was icky.
Yeah, it was a
Like,
little creepy.
oh,
To me, it was a little
why?
Captain Planet-ish. Like,
It
with,
was.
the, with the power of friendship.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I was trying to rack my brain
Can't.
for
No,
which of
Hector,
the
you're wrong.
Infinity Stones or the Infinity Gems was in this movie. It was purple, right? The thing that they
Yeah.
were trying to. So I looked it up just now on my phone, and I guess the purple one in the comic books is called the Space Gem, which gives you control over space. That kind of didn't make sense to me, but I don't know. Maybe it did. Whatever. I
The
like
effects
how,
of it didn't
Yeah,
make
the
sense?
effect, like how it could kill people organically and
Yeah.
stuff.
With, like,
And they
fire
never-
lightning?
They never specified
Which was kinda cool
what
looking, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, they never specified exactly what the gems are. But in any case, each of these different gems, they do a different thing. And one of them is like the space gem, the soul gem, the time gem, all these different stuff. So when his mom showed up and he saw his mom, I felt like for a second I was like, is this like the time gem? Is this gem like the thing that is literally allowing him to see his mother back in time?
Yeah.
Like a cool little moment. And maybe that's what kills people because it like decays their organic body like that. I don't
Maybe
know.
like a resurrection stone.
It was something like that. Something
Or
like
like
that.
just a
Yeah.
time control.
All right, nerd. Don't-
Hey, don't
But
hate.
I like the moment with his mom because A, I didn't see it coming because it was different from the comic books,
Okay.
and B, I felt like it reminded me of like I don't know like in Star Trek, Dr. Hank McCoy. The reason he goes and joins Starfleet is because his father was dying, and him as a doctor, he had to like his father asked him to help him die and like kill him and euthanize him, and then he did, and then he's like, I can't be on Earth, I gotta go into space, and that's why that character who hates space like left into space,
Yeah.
and so that the idea of him running out of the hospital, just being so afraid and so freaked out and so like I don't even want to deal with it, and then getting abducted by aliens and being like cool with it, like all right, I'm in space now.
Yeah.
I felt like that worked for me, and that's why I like that little moment at the end. But but if it didn't work for you, that's cool.
Yeah, just parts of it.
Thoughts.
I just think overall, like mostly everything in the movie worked. There were just a couple small things that kind of took me out of it for a second, but for the most part, I think it worked. So
One more thing I want to mention before we get into overall views is
quickly,
that arrow thing that Yabu had. That was the best weapon
Yeah,
you could
yeah. It
ever
was
imagine
rad,
having,
yeah.
and
It
he
was
only
rad.
used it once.
I
Are
think
you
it was
kidding
dope.
me?
Yeah.
It just soars
my
through
God.
people's bodies and murders them, even
Yeah.
through a ship. It's like
pretty
use
awesome.
that to destroy all the ships.
Yep.
Are you
Oh,
kidding me?
Genius.
Yeah.
That's true.
Just send your arrow out to kill everybody. It'll be done.
Come
yeah,
on,
it'll
you
be
can't
done in like
do
a
that because
second.
it only responds to whistling. So like when he was on the ground and being surrounded by dudes, he could whistle it, and then the arrow could like respond to his whistling.
Yeah.
So if
There's
he's
no
in a
sound
ship,
And plus, it's just
Right.
like the Gypsy Danger. It can't pull out the sword till the end of the movie, because they forget they have it.
yeah, it's
Mega
Power
sword.
Rangers rules. that you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah,
be a
dude.
He's
Megazord.
not the guard. He's not a guardian, so you can't make him the hero.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
It just would have come in handy.
For
All
sure.
right, so
Final thoughts.
We'll just wrap up really quick. with
Yes.
Final thoughts. Final thoughts. I really like it. I definitely recommend it in IMAX 3D. I think it was
Yeah.
really cool in 3D. Definitely worth it. And
Oh my God, that Groot scene where he's like,
yeah,
goes
definitely
with
cool
the
to see
Holland.
like some of the tricks that James Gunn did with the conversion with certain things. So yeah, it's definitely go check it out.
Out of 5, what would you give it?
I'd give it a 4.5.
4.5. Okay.
Yep.
I give it a solid 4.5. I would say please go see it because it's so much fun. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I want this movie to be successful because it's obscure characters.
Yeah.
And I want Marvel to prove that the reason they've been successful so far isn't just because it's a name brand, of Captain America or Thor or Hulk. It's because they make solid movies.
Right.
So go see it. It's another solid entry in their thing. It's not their best. It's by far not their worst. It's so good, so funny. And then ask us about it after because you're gonna have questions.
Yeah.
Augie?
I give it a 4.8. I really enjoyed this
awesome.
movie. It's just the characters got me. They were
Yeah.
really fleshed out. They were charming. Everything, even though we did point out some things that were wrong with it, I think just the way the characters were developed, for me, it made that movie completely worth every penny I spent to go see it. And also seeing 3D IMAX, it enhances it. We saw it twice. We saw the IMAX the second time, and it just made things so much better.
Okay.
But good.
I give it a 4.7. This is where the decimals now. I thought it was a really funny movie. I thought it was well developed, well written. The jokes were totally on point. Definitely a movie to go and enjoy with family. Go enjoy it with your friends. Second time I see it, and I was still laughing just as hard. So definitely worth your money, and just support it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like a 3.5, but I feel like that's a little too low. Maybe a little closer to 4, like a 3.8 or something.
Okay.
Because it's like
Fair.
I liked it,
Fair.
but I don't think I could say that I really liked it because there were just some stuff where I was like this. I don't know. It just felt a little half baked some of the times.
What's been your favorite Marvel Studios movie so far?
Oh, that's a good question. I was actually expecting this to be my favorite.
Sure.
Totally going in thinking that, and oh man, I don't know. I feel
I
like
would say the first Iron Man.
I really liked the first Iron
Cool.
Man, and I think the first time that I watched Avengers, it was
Yeah.
probably my favorite. But every
Yeah.
time I've watched it since then, it's kind of gone down a little.
Sure.
But I don't know. It's tough to off the top of my head. It's
Winter
hard to pick
Soldier.
one.
So Winter Soldier.
I really did like Captain America too. Actually,
Okay.
I think that was a
Okay.
really solid movie. That might actually be my number
So
one.
we know your gauge then.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Cool.
I thought that was good.
You're not insane.
No, I don't think so. You might, but
So Captain America will be your favorite Marvel movie of the ones you've
Don't
seen.
put Cynthia on the spot
Don't
like
put me on
that.
the spot.
oh, this,
She'll pick Guardians.
I know, it was
Guardians of
hard.
the Galaxy. She'll pick Guardians of the
I'll
Galaxy.
pick Guardians.
Guardians.
I'll pick Guardians.
Augie's
I'm
favorite
gonna say Guardians.
Oh my gosh, Avengers. It's got to be Avengers for me.
yeah.
I might have to go with Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I
Solid.
like this movie, but there were some things that I liked more about Captain America. But this is still, like we were all saying, it's still
Absolutely.
a really good movie.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
There's
go
yeah.
check it out.
Mhm.
IMAX 3D is probably like the coolest way to see it. And give us your thoughts. Leave some comments down below. Let us know what you thought about the movie, things you agree or disagree with, and make sure you follow us on YouTube under the Film Pundits, and also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the Film Pundits.
All of the
Everything.
places.
And we'll see you guys next week when we review Teenage Mutant
Teenage Mutant Ninja. Turtles
so
in a
until
half
next
shell.
week, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.
See ya.
Good night.
Nah.
Bye.